The new year is right around the corner, and I want to make this the year that I help as many of you as possible retire successfully with as much money as possible. So whether you're still working and you've got more than enough money to retire and you're already counting down the days until you retire, or if you're in the camp where you're looking at your bank account saying, hey, Azul, some things have to go my way in order to make this the year that I get to retire. Regardless of which camp you're in, this video is for you. And not only am I going to share with you what to do, but I'm going to share with you how you should implement this advice for yourself. And if you stay until the end, I'm also going to share what I did this year to prepare for my retirement. So let's jump in. And the first thing we have to do is make sure that our money is working as hard for us as possible, right? We've spent decades building up our base, and now maybe we've got 400,000, 500,000, $1 million, $2 million. Regardless of what that base is, we need it to be working as hard for us as possible. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that it's invested properly, that we're not being overly conservative, so conservative that it's all in the bank and we're not beating inflation. But we also don't want to be overly aggressive, so aggressive that if the stock market goes through a correction, that it's going to be super painful for us and we might blow out of our stock investments at exactly the wrong time and undo years, if not decades, of hard work. So we've got to get that balance right of how our stocks, how our portfolio is invested. What percent of it is stocks, what percent of it's in bonds. And the goal is let's make our money work as hard for us as it can without putting us at risk of hurting us, right? So, which leads me into my second item, which is this is not a time to make mistakes, right? Job number one is get your money working hard for you, but job number two is no mistakes. And both of those point to the same thing. And what they point to is getting your asset allocation right. This is going to be 80% of your success as an investor. And it's frankly, it's hard for us to do this for ourselves. And the reason is we live our own lives and you're super good at what you're super good at. But a financial advisor, an accountant that's helped hundreds of families retire has not just the tools, has not just the information we can all get on the internet, but more importantly, they have the wisdom and they have the life experience. They've seen what's worked for families. They've seen what hasn't worked for families. And given how important your asset allocation is, it's going to determine probably 80% or more of your success as an investor. So if we want those dollars working hard for us, we need to make sure at least high level we're invested properly. So I encourage you to work with a professional. Nothing I'm sharing here today is financial advice. I don't know your situation. But what I do know is for many retirees, one of our largest expenses in retirement is something that a lot of people forget to account for. And that is taxes. Taxes are often our first, second, or third largest expense in retirement. And the nice thing is, for many of us, for the first time in our lives, we can control how much we pay in taxes, right? When you're working for somebody else, when you're a W-2 employee, there are some things you can do to control your tax rate, but there's not a lot. But in retirement, you have a lot more levers that you can pull. And so you want to work with somebody that can help you think through the taxes. And the high level idea is in the United States, we have 7 tax brackets, but 2 of them are pretty low. It's 10% and 12%. And for most of us, if we can get money out of our tax advantaged accounts, our regular IRAs, or regular 401ks, if we can get money out at 10 or 12%, I don't know your situation. I'm not an accountant. This is not financial advice. But for most of us, if we could pay just 10 or 12% federal income tax on that, that would be a win. So we want to look at these three accounts: our regular taxable account, our regular IRAs, our regular 401ks, and our Roth, and we want to balance those so that we take advantage and we do what financial advisors call filling up those two lowest tax brackets. Okay, so that's the third thing. The nice thing is to make sure you have a purpose before you retire. Think through, what are you going to do when you retire, right? Because you think about it, there's 168 hours in a week. And when we're working, during the workday, if we have 5 hours a day to ourselves outside of work, commuting, sleep, catching up on emails late at night, if we have 5 hours a day during the week, that's a lot. So that's 25 hours plus the weekend. Well, 168 hours is a lot more than 25. So think through, what are you going to do? And you don't have to have it nailed down precisely, but have some things that you're excited about doing. And I will caution you, as a financial advisor for over 22 years, when people tell me, hey, Azul, I'm going to travel, I'm going to spend time with my grandkids, or I'm going to garden, those are the three kind of warning signs to me. There's nothing wrong with doing those things. Those are great things to do. Surprisingly, gardening is the #1 hobby in the United States. But those are kind of the default answers: travel, spending time with the grandkids, and gardening. So dig a layer deeper and think through what you want to do. So finding out that purpose is important. Another thing that's super important is to start flexing your spending muscle. And the reason I say this is, most of us have been saving pretty well and pretty aggressively for 20, 30, 40 years. It's hard to go from a saver to a spender. Many of us that are savers are like, oh, I'm really looking forward to being a spender. But you know what? The reality is that can be a tough transition. So start thinking about that transition ahead of time. And think about, what do you want to do those first couple years of retirement, when you're the most excited about retirement, when it's fresh and new, when you have all of your health, you have all of your mental acuity, right? It's the youth of your senior years. So you want to hit the ground running. It can be hard to hit the ground running if we're worried about spending money. If it's just, if frankly, as somebody that retired recently myself, and even as a financial advisor, knowing this was coming up, it's been a challenge. And I've had to kind of push myself to splurge on myself and to say, this is what we saved the money for. Okay, so getting to what I did. The first thing, candidly, and I think a lot of you are going to want this as well, is you can run the numbers, right? You can do it. A lot of people will use something called the 4% rule. And the 4% rule can be good to kind of get you in the ballpark and see if you're close. But you want to make sure that you have enough money. When you're retired, once you leave that good paying job, it's kind of a one-way door for many of us. So we don't want to think that we're okay. We want to know that we're okay. And I think the 4% rule is just too simplistic to know that you're okay. And the problem with building a robust Excel spreadsheet yourself is, A, many of us don't like doing that, but B, what if we forget something? So you want to use a powerful tool, something that's made for the retail investor, the soon-to-be retiree, and a tool that I like. In full disclosure, I'm an affiliate of this company. It's called Boldin, Boldin. And if you go to the link below to sign up for Boldin, as I record this, it's right at $10 a month, $120 a year, which I think is super affordable. If you use the link below, you'll be supporting the station as well. So thanks for doing that. But regardless of which tool you use a robust tool so that you know. And I wanted to have a buffer. The number said I needed this. I wanted to have a buffer, and I think a lot of you are going to want to have a buffer as well. We just have to be careful, because it's super easy to go from a buffer to what I call the four most dangerous words in retirement: just one more year. and we can one more year ourselves to the point where we're giving up the youth of our senior years. I don't want to see that happen to you. I also want to see you enjoy the time until you get to retire, which is why I made this video up here, 8 things to stop doing in your 50s and 60s in order to enjoy your journey more. Thanks for watching this vid. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.